Hey polish fans, it's Caroline again and welcome to another video here at Wild Moon Lacquer. In today's video, I'm trying to catch up on some of my hauls from over the last couple of months. This one is actually from quite a while ago. I don't remember when I made the purchase, but this is a Native War Paints haul. So this was purchased around the time when they were doing their rebranding into Sovereign Lacquer, and they were selling off a lot of their branded bottles as Native War Paint for a really big discount. I don't remember what the percentage was, but I want to say that each of these bottles was probably under $5, which I was very excited to be able to get any bottles of nail polish for that price. If you are a fan of indie polish, you know that that is quite unheard of. You most of the time will spend between $11 and $14 depending on the brand range. There are a number of brands that are even higher. So yeah, I was very excited to be able to find some inexpensive bottles on sale, and I have them all swatched. We're going to go ahead and take a look at them. Also, as I've been trying to do with all of my hauls recently, is as we go, I'll tell you if any of these are regret purchases, if there were any that I would be able to talk myself out of if I were to go back and redo this purchase today. Let's get started. All right, so the first one is this really pretty jelly called Grape Jelly. I want to say that there was an entire series. I also got the orange one here. So this one, as the name would suggest, is a squishy jelly, which means that the base of this is sheer. Now, what I really liked about this are these amazing iridescent glitters. Iridescent glitters are one of those components that I fell in love with very early on in my nail polish journey. I just love how they catch the light. They remind me of light reflecting, like when you have a soft focus on a picture and you just get these little twinkles of golds and oranges that just sort of look ethereal, and I just love how they end up looking. So this one, as I said, is in a squishy purple base, thus the name Grape Jelly, and this definitely lives up to the name. It is very squishy, and as you can see, it is jam-packed full of a couple of different sizes of these really beautiful warm iridescent glitters. And here is Grape Jelly in 3 coats with a glossy top coat, and as you can see, it is still very jelly-like. This would be very good for jelly sandwiches or as a transformative topper over other colors. Now, because it is a nail polish and not a top coat, you would definitely still want to add a glossy top coat on top of this to seal everything in and make it nice and glossy. This is 3 coats with a glossy top coat, and I would say I probably could have potentially used a glitter smoother on top of it just to sort of give it that added layer to smooth everything out. But as you can see, it is jam-packed full of those iridescent glitters, so it gets the job done. I think this would look really cute over a bunch of different colors. For some reason, this color screams springtime to me, maybe early summer, so very excited to be able to try this one. Although I will say, I don't know how unique it is, mainly because it is just that jelly base and the iridescent glitters, which I do feel are featured in quite a number of polishes. So could I have talked myself out of it? Potentially. Yeah, I think maybe I could have. Am I okay having this given how much I spent on it? Like I said, each bottle was under $5. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I think I can definitely get some use out of it. What I am liking is all of these glitters also have a couple of different colors that's not showing up on the main color roll there. You're mainly seeing the warm, but I'm seeing blue at the bottom side of the bottle, and as I tilt it, I'm catching some green up there. That part I don't know if that's going to come through, but I think you can see that one right there catching in a beautiful blue. So yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with it. It is a really nice jelly formula. So that first one was Grape Jelly. And we're going to put that in the potentially could have talked myself out of it. We'll go with that. Next up in color order, we have order 2472. Now, I don't know what that is in reference to necessarily, but it is a really pretty deep orchid shade of this purpley pink. There are a number of different components in here, adding a shimmer and a slightly larger particled blue glow that you're seeing there. But beyond that, I'm seeing a deeper pink shimmer, and there's some beautiful gold twinkles there as I shift the bottle. So there's a number of colors. That gold, actually, I don't know if that's coming through at all. I think you can kind of see that warm tilt start to come through, but it is a little bit more prominent in person. I can also see some green coming out. So it's got some really nice, if not subtle, shifts going on in this one. And here is order 2472 in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. This one is more of a squishy, crelly. I do think that some longer nail lengths might need a third to reach a full opacity, and of course it would depend on your application and your nail polish wearing preferences and all of that. But this is it in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. I will say that most of the shifts are pretty subdued in this one. The main color roll that I'm seeing in person is kind of that fuchsia on fuchsia, although on camera you can definitely see that green shift. So I am curious how much that will show up in person in different lighting situations as you go about your day when this is on your nails. All in all though, I would say this is probably one that I could have easily talked myself out of had I seen it in person previously. I think this was one of those polishes that looked really interesting in certain lighting, but I think whatever lighting they were using definitely capitalized on the shifts that were present in the bottle, and those are the ones that I can't really get to show up very well on camera. You're mainly again seeing that blue to green, and in person in the bottle there is oranges and pinks, green and gold. So I was seeing more of those, I think, in the images, but if I were to go off of the swatch as I have it now, I think this is potentially one that I could have talked myself out of. It's just not as exciting to me. Yeah, I think this is just one that I could have probably talked myself out of. So that I think is going to be our first regret. I would have probably talked myself out of it if I were to redo this purchase today. So that is order 2472. Next up is one of the most opaque polishes of this haul, and this one is Talking Hurts. And this is a beautiful shade of this grapey purple. It actually swatches a lot darker on the nail, and what you're seeing is what I'm seeing in person, a very prominent golden yellow flash across the face of the nail. Now I am seeing a slightly warmer tone of like an orange pop up at certain angles in this one. So there's not a lot of shifts, but there is a couple of color rolls that it goes through. Here is that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And I mean, see what I mean? I feel like on the nail it dries a couple of shades darker than it did in the bottle, but I will say this is one of the most opaque polishes. This is just 2 coats, and I really don't see anybody needing a 3rd coat. In fact, some shorter nail lengths might be okay in 1 coat. So this one was really impressive with its opacity, and it is a purple. I am a purple fan, so this one is a color that I was really drawn to, although again, I want to say that the color rolls that I'm seeing in person might not be as amazing as I felt like they might have been represented on the website. Now, that's of course subjective. I know from experience that catching something on camera compared to what you're seeing in person can be very difficult. So no shade to anybody who was doing the pictures or anything like that. Just, I would say for myself, for as many purple colors as I have in my collection right now, I wouldn't say this is necessarily one that would stand out as very unique. So I would probably be able to talk myself out of this one as well, unfortunately. But that one was Talking Hurts. Next up, and another shade of purple, is this one called May 2021. I believe that they had a running like polish of the month, and this one I thought was very beautiful. Again, I'm gonna say that it was probably the swatch pictures that really captured my attention with this one. I liked all of the shifts that I was seeing. This is one where it was very, very sheer, and I don't really recall it being advertised as a very, very sheer color. This is a jelly by all accounts and purposes. So this one has a mixture of holographic glitter. It has a scattering of flakies that really didn't come out very well, at least on my swatches. And then the main colors that you're seeing is actually a shifting, like multi-chromatic shimmer. So you're seeing greens and blues. In person, I'm seeing fuchsia and some warmer tones of like an orange. So there's a lot of color rolls that it goes through, and it is a very pretty color there in the base. I think you can see those little flakies shining through nicely. And here it is on the nail in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. And I mean, as you can see, lighter than Grape Jelly, which is a jelly formulation. So I don't know if this one was designed as a topper. It has been a while since I made the purchase. We'll go ahead and just give them the benefit of the doubt that this was intended as a topper, because as a topper, I think this could be really nice. As you can see over my darker nail polish, that could look really interesting. You are going to primarily, I think, see that green shift when it's over a darker color, but you do get a lot of that holographic glitter. So this one is very pretty. Could I have talked myself out of it? Probably. And the reason being is, like I said, I'm pretty sure I figured this was a more opaque polish, because if I'm remembering correctly, I think this reminded me of another color that I have, and I wanted to see if it was somewhat similar, and the one that I was thinking of was definitely not anywhere near this amount of sheer. So we'll have to see how I end up playing around with this, if it's one that I feel is unique enough to stand out in my collection. Like I said, I love the amount of hollow that's in here, and I do love the shift in the base. I just don't know if I would purchase it again if I were redoing this purchase today. So that one is May 2021. All right, on to the second one that is a thoroughly opaque polish on its own in 2 coats. And this one is Stay Alive Jessica Hyde. And this one is a very interesting color. This one is, spoiler, not a regret. So the base of this one is kind of a mix between an oxblood and a brown. There is this depth of tone, which I don't think is coming across on camera. It's coming off very like dusty eggplant, but you can see some of that brown on the edge of the bottle. Then on top of that, it's got 2 different shimmer particles. One is that green that you're seeing, which in person is a fuchsia to red. Then you have a slightly larger particle, which I think is still showing up as green on camera, but you see that slightly, just ever so slightly larger speckle. That is a secondary particle that in person, against the fuchsia and red that I'm seeing, is showing up as a green. So it is really pretty. There are more shifts going on in that green to blue to magenta. I see some more like electric green at the edge of the bottle, as well as gold and orange. So this one has amazing color rolls, maybe a little bit subdued because it is in a pretty opaque base, but it does turn out beautifully on the nail. So here's that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat, and hopefully the color's coming through accurately. This one is just pretty unique. It is, like I said, sort of a mix between that burgundy and a chocolate milk brown. This one is very unique and interesting. So that is in just 2 coats with a glossy top coat. I would say it's maybe a touch sheerer than this one over here, which was Talking Hearts. So it's not quite as opaque. I do think maybe some nails might need a 3rd coat if you have like stiletto length nails. I think you can sort of see what I mean about kind of being able to see my nail underneath it. So again, it just sort of depends on your nail length, your application, and how opaque you really want your nails to be. But this is a dark enough shade that I really feel like most people would be okay with 2 coats. And again, very unusual color combination. In fact, this probably is going to go on my fall seasonal rack. So that one was Stay Alive Jessica Hyde. Next up is the second jelly that I got. This one is the orange, called Orange Marmalade, and this one is really beautiful. So this time we have a slightly different take on those iridescent flakies. They are a different color roll. So in the grape one, they were more of a yellow and gold on the face, whereas the ones in the orange one are a mix of greens and blues. There's some purples and indigos that pop up, which I think looks so interesting against this orange base. You do have the golds as well. Those shifts I don't think are as obvious because they are in a warm base, but yeah, really pretty combination there. And the tone of this orange is really nice. It is a very juicy shade of orange. I really like this one. This is another one that is not a regret because it has a beautiful contrast to that orange jelly base, and it's just a fun combo. So here it is in 3 coats with a glossy top coat, and again you can see how much of that glitter you get out on the nail. This is another one that I think would make a really fun transformative topper over other colors. Now because it is a jelly, you do have an orange that you're going to be dealing with, so I wouldn't say go crazy with putting it over a light color that you might get a weird muddled look with, but over any shade of orange or maybe even reds or pinks, this could look stellar. So really excited to try it over a few different colors. Like I said, the color rolls in these glitters are just amazing in this base. So that one was Orange Marmalade, our second that is not a regret. And then our last polish of the bunch is Salazar. And this one is a very interesting, almost blackened green. You have this very strong shade of green that comes off in the shimmer, and the rest of it is kind of this smoky, almost blackened green, which is why I got it. Now, that might kind of confuse some people because I know I have been describing a lot of my blackened bases and especially blackened greens as being reasons for me to destash polishes, but actually the reason why it caught my attention is this is actually a magnetic, which I had forgotten when I did a swatch. So we are going to see a swatch that is half magnetized that I just did, and the other is in 3 coats. But this one I thought was just beautiful as a magnetic. Like I said before, I have been getting rid of quite a few of this type of polish in just your basic cream or crelly formulation, or even with flakies and glitter. But as a magnetic, I thought it was just very interesting. Let's go ahead and see it magnetized in the bottle. You get some of that smoky nature that remains, and then you're left with that green line, that green cat's eye in the magnetic line. Just thought that was very pretty. So here it is in 3 coats, not magnetized, and then 4 coats and the top coat magnetized there on the 4th coat. And yeah, I don't know, I like that magnetic line. I think that's really unusual in the base. And what I think is interesting about that is on the swatch anyways, you can still tell it is a very deep, dark green. It doesn't come off looking only black, which is part of the reason why I often get rid of some colors. You may as well have just put on a black nail polish and been done with it. It would have been simpler. So with this one, I do find that you can still tell it is a beautiful, rich, smoky green, and there you have that amazing magnetic line. So if you didn't want to magnetize it, that's how it looks all on its own with 3 coats. I think this is another one that is not a regret. I think it should still stand out fairly uniquely among the colors that I have in my collection. And right now anyways, for this season, I am feeling this smoky green, so I might have to get this on my nails sooner rather than later. So that last one from Native War Paints is Salazar. So there we have it. That was a little haul from Native War Paints. We ended up with only 3 that were firmly in the not regret category, 4 of which I could have probably talked myself out of if I were to redo the purchase today. Let me know down below which ones were your favorites, and if you got any during the whole transition from when Native War Paints was doing their rebranding. Which ones did you get? Which ones were amazing? Which ones were your favorites, and all of that. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys had a good time. If you're new, make sure to hit the little subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of my new videos, and I will see you in that next one.